Welcome back to Unusually Effective. Today we're talking about the strategy of good enough, how to avoid collapse and actually build a happy and fulfilling life. This is a story about how good enough might just be the thing that saves you. We're often told success belongs to the brilliant, the flawless, the ones with the perfect plans and unwavering drive. In practice, it's usually held by those who stumble less, who patch the holes before they sink, who survive their own blind spots long enough to keep moving forward, long enough until the rising sun eliminates the ignorance lurking in the shadow of our belief, so that it can be exiled. I want to share a few reflections. How shoring up failures matters more than stacking wins. How broken maps of the terrain and daily weather mislead even the most determined traveler boastful enough to ignore it. How the urgent steals from the important, why small tweaks ripple through everything we touch and how it affects us in return, and why the myth of if I can do it, anyone can do it, often hides more than it reveals. Leveling up failures and updating our models of the world. There was a season when I thought progress was just about collecting achievement trophies. Tick one box, then the next, then the next. But it didn't take long to see how fragile that way of navigating day to day was. One wrong assumption, one weak joint, and the whole thing cracked and crashed down. All those careful bricks stacked on a foundation of quicksand. The truth is, patching what's broken matters more than embellishing what already works acceptably well. A leaky roof will ruin a house no matter how lovely the wallpaper. And underneath it all is the map we carry in our heads. The map is not the territory. If the map is wrong, if your goals are misplaced or misaligned, it doesn't matter how efficient the journey, you are still lost. The only way forward is to face the cracks without flinching, to notice where we've been wrong and redraw the lines. It's rarely dramatic. It's slow, a little painful, sometimes embarrassing, but every correction is a stronger footing for what comes next. What matters isn't being right all the time, but being less disastrously wrong. Life holds together not because of perfection at every turn, but because of a willingness to admit our maps are incomplete, their abstraction of the landscape we find ourselves in, and to keep sketching them closer to contours of the reality. Reality always wins. Blind spots, the Eisenhower trap, and the power of tiny shifts. I've lived through stretches where every day felt full. So much to do, endless little fires to put out. I thought to myself, surely this means I'm doing something right. But months later, looking back, there was no actual movement, just erratic motion, like a man running hard from one direction to another, only to end up swaying on the same spot. Reality is indifferent to our effort. If the results surprise us, it's because our picture of the world isn't wide enough. And one of the great blind spots is urgency. We mistake noise for necessity. The Eisenhower matrix reminds us, but still, how easy is it to fill our days with things that shout while the quiet, important ones wither? Sometimes progress begins with an almost invisible choice. To stop answering the urgent knock for a while and turn toward the quiet work instead. The book left unopened, the conversation never had, the idea that's been waiting patiently in the back room of your mind. These don't demand your attention, but they grow roots when you give it. Life changes not with grand gestures, but with tiny, persistent tilts of the wheel. The Matthew principle. Momentum gathers to the one already moving. Over time, the smallest edges compound into something outsized. Cathedrals are raised by single stones. Ruin, too, accumulates one unattended crack at a time. The myth of, if I can do it, so can you. There was a time when I loved that phrase. The most famous example is of Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple, sharing in an interview.
Everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you.
Everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. It sounded hopeful, almost generous. But as years passed, I met people carrying invisible weights, burdens laid on them before they ever took a step. For them, that phrase landed less like encouragement and more like dismissal. We aren't equal in circumstance, or wiring, or opportunity. Some are given scaffolding before they begin. Others have to dig themselves out of pits before they can even stand on level ground. Success doesn't float freely. It's tethered to context. So maybe the better way isn't to flatten our stories into one slogan, but to hold our lives honestly, to see the hidden scaffolds in our own, to notice the unseen weights in others, and then from that honesty, to walk our path without apology and without arrogance, to lay down our pride at the altar of high achievement, not because we should resign to our fates. After all, it is in striving together that we discover our calling, foster meaning through effort, and inevitably attain a sense of fulfillment. Yet in our triumph over circumstances, the heights we've reached, obstacles we've conquered, are woven through with generosity and fortunes bestowed exclusively in grace. Because humility makes us human. It keeps us from turning our good fortune into someone else's shame. It allows us to honor the lives around us as complex and unrepeatable, instead of measuring them against our own. So perhaps if you find yourself at the inflection point, as we all do from time to time, the way forward isn't brilliance, because it isn't perfection. Maybe it's simply not falling apart. Maybe it's tending to the cracks, redrawing the maps when they fail us, and sailing to distant lands despite strong winds filling our sails. Listening to the quiet things that never clamor, allowing small shifts to accumulate, and holding our stories and each other's with a gentler hand. It wouldn't look spectacular on paper, but it builds something sturdy, something you can actually live inside. And in the end, that might be the closest thing to success most of us ever really need. Thank you for watching. You can help by sharing this video with a friend who could benefit from its message. My name is Leon, and I'll see you in the next one.